Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so very blessed with this podcast. The people it reaches. My objective was to simplify spirituality. I'm so blessed that I get to do that. And the message I get on a weekly basis is clearly reaching those people when they need it most. So feeling very, very blessed. I am an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. And I love what I get to do. I get to guide people to truly be their authentic selves, to release the program we've been holding on to, and to realize that, you're the gift, you're the light. And I feel like the planet is going through such a shift, and I love what I get to do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, with this podcast, I get to interview some amazing, beautiful guests, and I'm excited to have Kelsey on the show today. Kelsey, thank you for joining, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation. I feel like it's going to be super aligned, and whoever is on the receiving end of this podcast, I hope it's exactly what you need to hear today. So, anyone who's new to my world, I'm Kelsey Aida, Aida like the opera, and I basically help people, mostly women, to manifest their best lives, their highest timeline in the easiest way possible. A lot of times that involves a lot of self-love work, a lot of releasing resistance, a lot of energetic alignment. And I feel that my purpose here on earth in this lifetime is really just to continue to be a healer, as I have been in many lifetimes, and help ground in heaven on earth, but with like each individual person that I help, like helping them to create their heaven on earth. And then that gives them permission to shine brighter. And then it inspires other people to do the same. And so one life at a time, just creating more heaven, more deliciousness, more alignment, more ease, more flow, and less unnecessary suffering.
I love that. I love that. The ripple effect. It's just we don't appreciate and realize how much impact we have with that ripple effect, right? I love the one-to-one work I get to do with my clients, and I do group work and all the rest of it. But the one-to-one is just something different. It's I know that actually I feel it for both of us that we're here to kind of create mentors. So we mentor mentors who then going to go and do massive shifts in the world. So I'm thank you for doing the work that you do.
Yeah, likewise. We need as many of us as we can get.
It's so true right now. It's so true. It's just it's an interesting time for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling the age of Aquarius coming in hot, and I have a lot of Aquarius in my chart, so I'm here for it, ready for
I love
battle,
it. I love it.
prepared.
I love it. I actually look at the moon cycle a lot. I don't follow horoscopes as much. I do follow planetary alignment,
Mhm.
but I feel like the planet is shifting from divine masculine to divine feminine. I feel like it's been kind of planned for centuries, and I feel like it's such a shift. And this is why there's so much conflict, right? I don't get into politics too much. I know it triggers a lot of people, but I feel like everything that's happening right now is what the planet needs, right? It's going through a massive shift, and I feel like we are shifting from divine masculine to divine feminine. And I always love starting every episode when talking to a guest of really asking you, how are you feeling about the shift? What are you seeing in the world? Does it resonate with you? And what are you seeing with your clients?
Yeah, everything you're saying is definitely resonating. I feel like instead of this time being like the calm before the storm, it's like the storm before the calm. And I feel like it's been like the energy of like the Tower card in Tarot
Yeah.
for like ever since 2020. Like 2020 happened, and then we just entered this crazy timeline where nothing ever went back to normal. And now it's just all the chaos to like move us into this new era, but we're just like, because all the systems are like dismantling and everything's chaotic. But like in people's personal lives, I don't feel like it's that chaotic, actually. I feel like on a mass level, it kind of seems like really overwhelming. And personally, everyone I know, clients, friends, family, is going through a big shift, but it's like a promotion into a new level. I would say some people are more ready for it than others. Some like for example, ask like, "Oh, I want to be in my homestead era," like one of my friends, and then she like accidentally got pregnant, and then she got engaged like the next week after that, and it was just like boom, boom, boom. And she was like,
Careful
"Dang, I
whisper,
didn't."
yeah.
Yeah, she was like, "Dang, when I asked to be in my homestead era, I didn't think I would just like become a wife and a mom overnight, but like here it is, you know?" So it's like, ready or not, here comes your next chapter. And I feel like that's what's happening for a lot of people that I'm seeing right now, whether it's clients, friends, family. It's just like a next level of being like more yourself. And life is inviting people to be more themselves, sometimes through hard lessons, sometimes through wonderful manifestations. You know, it's different for everybody. But I feel like that's kind of the theme. We're stepping into like this new life that's not so new and so different, but it's like how it was always meant to be in a way. It's like stepping more into yourself, I feel like.
Oh, I love that. I resonate with that so much. I feel like we are stepping into the highest version of ourselves. But there is parts of us, as we go through this rebirth, holding on to that old version, right? It's that.
Oh, it's coming up hard. Like, even for me, I'm in the process of writing a book, and there's been like a lot of pressure on this book because I feel like it's going to be big. And none of my other books were really that big, but I feel like this one's going to be big. So, in my mind and in my body, it's felt like pressure, pressure, pressure. And just to get to the point of like writing the proposal and getting the agent and getting the book deal was such an initiation for me. Even though I've already wrote plenty of other books with big publishers, I've just been like, like feeling like I'm about to explode from like stepping into this next level, and then all the old limiting beliefs coming back, all the old stories coming back. Like, are you even good enough to write this book? What if you do get famous? Fix your double chin, blah, blah, blah. All this random stuff that you would think has nothing to do with writing a book, but then it comes up like this fear of being seen, which like on a soul level, I don't even have because I'm a performer. I've always been a performer. I'll always be a performer, right? So it's like, it's very interesting how even when I'm starting to line up with something that I've wanted for so long. Like, this book came to me probably like 8 years ago, but the world was not ready. So it's been worked on.
I love
And
it.
now it's finally going to come into fruition 2026. And all the resistance that I didn't know was still there is just like bubbling up to the surface to be released. So that's been my personal journey lately, is pretty intense, like shedding of some old skin, some old stories, narratives, paradigms, a lot of like insecurities I didn't even know that I had just popping up out of nowhere.
But actually, you describe what I feel like all of us are going through so well. It feels like we are stepping into our highest version of ourselves, but that does mean that for many of us, we're going to be seen. But it
Yeah,
also means that the life that we've created may no longer exist.
right. It's like, no more hiding.
Yeah.
Get
But it's easy
ready.
for us to say, right? It's easy for us to say, but the reality is we worked hard to create this version of ourselves, right? We've worked hard to create hiding behind something, right? And it's just like, even though like that this is your destiny, there's still going to be parts of you. And because this is what I feel like a lot of us are going through. There's like two parts, more than two parts, but if you focus on two parts,
Yeah.
there's the human and the spirit. The spirit and the soul knows like it knows. You know that you're meant to release this book. You know that the book is going to reach the people it needs to. You know that I feel like you know that you're channeling a lot of it, and it's what's needed. But there's also a part of you that's like, wait, hold on a second. This book does become popular, then wait, I'm going to show up. I'm going to be seen. What and that old version of you, the human in you, is like, wait, hold on, I get it, but I want to control it.
Oh, yeah.
We have you talking about COVID. I feel like this shift started during lockdown. Mother Nature came along and said, "Well, you guys all saying you don't have time to heal? Okay, I got you. I'm going to send you all to the naughty corner, and you can either heal or you don't." And I get, look, there was a lot of pain during that time too. A lot of people left this realm. I understand all of that, but I do feel like everything was divinely timed. It was the beginning of a cycle that we are becoming. But I'm very conscious on this podcast. Sometimes I make things sound really simple. Are we going through a shift? Are we going to become our higher selves? but we're a soul having a human experience, and sometimes that human experience is expansive. Let's just say that it's not good or bad. It's not painful, loving. It's just expansive because we are. I feel like we're releasing multiple lifetimes of programming, not just for ourselves or ancestors. So we're going through a lot.
Yeah. And not to mention like the grieving that comes with like knowing that your old life might not exist anymore, the one that you were talking about that we've built so hard to build, right? And then like the old version of yourself that's gotten you so far.
Yeah.
And you're like, but she's gonna die when I
Yeah.
like embody this new one. And then there's like this sense of grief and loss, even though you know you're going to a better place that's ultimately going to suit you even more because you're leveling up in a way. It's like it feels like a loss and a gain at the same
Yeah.
time.
And you got to celebrate that version of you, right? You got to mourn her, you got to celebrate her, but you do have to let her go.
Yep.
And that's where sometimes the pain comes in, right? We hold on because wait, we love this version of ourselves.
Hmm. Or we're just so attached to it because it's
Yeah.
all we know.
Well, it's true. I mean, but he or she's been through so much, and it's like, well, yeah, and it's he or she's safe, as you say. But yeah, I just feel like it's time. So I'm curious, what are you doing in today's world to kind of embrace this new version of you, either with yourself or with your clients? What's
Mm.
that look like for you?
With myself, just really leaning into like self care and self nourishment, like the most I ever have. And instead of being addicted to work, because I'm a recovering workaholic who was obsessed with, and this was subconscious until it wasn't, right? Was just needing to prove my worth through my accomplishments, which was always a big theme in my life. And like, still, I have to shake it off sometimes when I notice I'm still doing it. But nowadays I'm really just trying to embrace, okay, it's not about how much you get done, it's not about how many people you help, it's not about how many books you write, it's not about how much money you make. Like, let's just nourish ourselves today. Let's go to the gym, let's go to yoga, let's get some sunshine, let's play with the dog, let's slow it down, let's take a nap, let's work on a house project. And everything that needs to get done through me to make the world a better place will get done. And if I can just get one thing done a day, that's my new rule. Like, I don't push myself to like do all these things this week. I'm just like, here's my things that I would like to get done this week. If I can at least do one a day, that's a win. And we're moving forward. Like, I'm not focusing on how fast I'm moving forward. I'm just gently moving forward, if that makes sense, which is
Because
like a
the reality,
180 from my old
but,
approach.
but
So,
the reality is, how much control do we have, right?
right.
We can be crazy and focused and do loads of different things, but the universe may have a totally different plan for us anyway. So the more that we could, meet the universe halfway with the self care, but at the same time trust that we're exactly where we're meant to be. And it is a shift. I mean, I spent many years in the corporate world, and yeah, I was determined to become CEO of the world. I was going, it's just, but in the end, you realize, well, hold on, what's it all about? And I mean, it's interesting. I just left it and kept it simple that my purpose is anyone I connect with, I want to leave them better than the front. And if I help one person every day, whether it's through the podcast and whether it's through the work I do, then I've hit that objective. I feel like I'm going to impact many people and, maybe through the ripple effect, but I don't have any control over it. So why would I stress about it? I'd love to know more about your journey and, kind of, you talked about being the healer. I'd love for you to share anything that's in your heart about your journey. How have you kind of come to the conclusion that, you're a healer? It's, and anything you can share that's in your heart.
Yeah. So, a cool story I can share. I always knew that I could help people understand things and that I could simplify concepts. And this became very clear to me in elementary school. I think it was like second, third, or fourth grade, whenever you learn multiplication, right?
Hmm.
And the teacher was like teaching for hours, for hours. This is day one of learning multiplication in my life. Okay. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense. It's cool. You just add the number to itself that many times. Okay, cool. And then I remember it was recess. And one of my friends, I think her name was Sammy Kim. She was like, Kelsey, I'm just so confused about this like about this multiplication. It's so confusing. I don't get it. And we were like so many hours in at this point. And I was like, Sammy, girl, it's okay. Just think about it like this. You just take that number and you add it to itself however many times you're multiplying it. And I saw in her face and in her brain something shift that the teacher hadn't been able to shift for the 4 hours that she was teaching it. But here I was with one sentence able to help her get it. And I was like, there's something here, right? And that became a theme in my life, that I was able to take maybe complicated things and make them more simple or more approachable or more practical. And then fast forward to my late teens, early adulthood, and I had my first dark night of the soul of this lifetime, where I was training my whole life to be a professional ballerina, and I got injured, as many dancers do, and it was a big hip injury and a big back injury, like enough to derail that career fulfillment. So I fell into a deep, deep depression. I was stuck there for like about 3 years. And towards the end of it, I was just like, okay, God, universe, whatever, like, what's a girl got to do to get some help around here? Like, send the help. I'm ready to feel better. I'm going to commit suicide if I like stay on this timeline. So that's obviously not going to help anybody. So just like help me learn how to enjoy my life again. And once I said that prayer, of course, I started receiving the right resources and the right help and a great therapist, and started working with a shaman. And that's when I really started diving into spirituality and manifestation and alignment and energy and emotions. And it was just clicking, making so much sense. And within like a month of doing that, I was able to lift myself out of the depression, feel better than I had ever felt before. And I was just like, oh, light bulb. I need to teach this to as many people as I can. I need to use my gift of explaining things to explain this, because if people had this information as a resource, there would be so much less suffering in the world, and unnecessary suffering is lame and I don't like it. So let's change that, right? So I just decided in that moment, I was like, I'm going to be the next Deepak Chopra and I'm going to write books. Okay. For some reason, books was like really calling to me, because I felt that I could maximize my impact with a one to many approach through books. So I was like, okay, I'm going to write books. I'm going to be an author. But of course, like, no one knew who I was. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just this girl who healed from depression. And like, what did I know? Right. So I started a blog, and I was blogging about anxiety and depression and healing and manifesting and alignment and working with your thoughts and doing affirmations in a really authentic way where they actually work. And then eventually I self-published a book, and then that became actual published books with Simon and Schuster. And then that became the podcast. And then everything just started blossoming into this like career of a healer, which has been part-time, because I also am still a cosmetologist part-time. And so that was kind of my journey there. Then a few years later, I had another dark night of the soul where
Happened,
I
right?
went through this crazy breakup. I moved across the country from San Diego to Columbus, Ohio. Everybody thought I was crazy, because who moves to Ohio from San Diego? But it was just calling me. And then, of course, I met my husband there eventually. So no wonder it was calling me. But that was a whole ride. And then when I was in Columbus, I had a spontaneous kundalini awakening. And then all my psychic gifts, which I had been using, but I didn't call them that. I was already like channeling a lot and stuff. But all my psychic gifts just like blew wide open. I became like this psychic medium overnight. Dead people were like, hey, tell such and such this thing. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I don't want to be like Jennifer Love Hewitt from the Ghost Whisperer or whatever, where
Oh,
she
I
like
remember
helps
that. Yeah,
people to
yeah.
the
I
other
remember.
side. I was like, I don't want to be like that. Don't haunt me. And so that was a crazy journey. But that only just helped me to be more intuitive, to help people on an even deeper level. And yeah, that's my two dark nights of the soul. And then I feel like the third one, it's not a dark night of the soul, it's just like a night of the soul that is happening right now. It's not dark, it's not as heavy, because I feel like I'm more professional at moving through it now, but it has been intense, just this whole book
Yeah,
writing process. I feel like this is a next level up leveling, and it's been a lot of shedding, as we mentioned. So but yeah, now we're here, and I'm just helping people to the best of my ability, channeling this book. And I think it's going to land with the people.
I love it. I love it. You know, it's interesting you talk about this being not the dark night, the night of the soul. It's
It's just a
it feels
nighttime,
like, yeah, it feels like because of all the work you've done, it's still a shift, but you're more prepared for it, and therefore it's
Yeah,
not.
and it feels easier. Like, even though it feels intense, it doesn't feel hard. I don't feel lost. I don't feel sad. I don't feel like I have before. I just feel like intensity that doesn't really have like a word to it, but just like moving through it, breathing through it, doing a lot of movement, resting through it, and just like constantly coaching myself in my mind when I go back to those negative places.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who feels like they're going through that sort of shift? They're maybe going through a dark night of the soul, or going through something that's really intense. What would you
Yeah.
advise them?
I mean, my best advice is that it won't last forever because I feel like that's one of the biggest, most detrimental lies that creeps up from the back of your mind is like, this is your new life. This is forever. You'll never escape this feeling. And it's just not true. You're passing through, right? So when you can trust that it's temporary, that even if you don't see or know how it's helping you, that it is helping you, even if it doesn't feel like it, I think it can be a lot easier and you'll have a lot less resistance to it. And when you resist it less, honestly, the more easily it passes through. And so that's my biggest advice is just don't fall for the lie and the trap that it's going to last forever.
I love it. And I've always used the phrase "this too shall pass."
Yeah,
Because for me,
exactly.
it means that if you feel like you're in a great phase, great, enjoy it, live in the moment, enjoy it. And if you feel like you're going through something that's heavy, a shift, sure, this too shall pass. And I always love to remind people that our guides, the universe, will never give you anything you can't handle. But also, the pain that sometimes we go through is our biggest expander.
Oh, for
So,
sure.
so I'm curious for you that if you were to go back through, your first or second dark night of the soul, what did you learn from it? What did you grow from it? What insights did you get?
Yeah. Well, looking back on it, especially when I was depressed, I realized that everything happens in equal opposition. So to give like a motion for anyone watching on video to this, like I'm holding my hands up and there's a middle baseline, okay? And then when I was depressed, I was really stretched like into the darkness, into the heaviness, into the compression. But that almost propelled me to when I felt better to like slingshot into the other direction, and it opened my capacity for joy, for love, for expression, for alignment. So it's like as dark and deep as it got, I also expanded equally in the opposite direction, and my whole compass and world and life just expanded at the same time, even though I felt like in that moment I was contracting into nothing. So
Love it.
that was one of the biggest things is just it expands you like how we've been talking about. And of course I wouldn't wish for anyone to be depressed or go through it or get stuck in it for years like I did, but one of my biggest takeaways was that if I had known how to be with my sadness, I could have moved through it a lot more quickly and more gracefully. But when I was going through it, I was too busy resisting my actual feelings that I was staying stuck in them longer. And I was like, I don't have time to be sad. I shouldn't be feeling this way. Why is God punishing me? Why is my body against me? This is ridiculous. I'm a good person. I don't deserve to feel like shit all the time. And I was spending so much time just being upset about being upset versus like actually just processing the upsetness that I really just was stuck
I love it.
probably longer than I needed to be. And so now if negative feelings come up, one of my favorite, most self-loving practices is to just be with it unconditionally and breathe through it and not judge it and not say I don't have time and all the other things, but just let it run its course through its body. And what I've learned is your emotions will never kill you. They actually have deep personal truths that they are trying to communicate to you, but you can only access those personal truths when you allow yourself to feel the feeling and embody it and breathe through it and let it rise up within you. And what happens is, and I do this work a lot with my clients, is you'll actually come to a space of relief much more quickly than you think. We think like, oh my gosh, if I let myself be sad or be mad or be devastated, like I'm going to get stuck there forever.
Yeah.
It's going to suck me down. I'm going to die. I won't be able to handle it. And really, you can handle it, one. And two, on the other side of feeling that intense wave is relief,
Yeah.
which we all want. And then you naturally your vibration naturally rises back up to like whatever your baseline is, right? So for me, like living a high vibrational life is not like just being positive all the time or something like that, but it's just being in a state of non-resistance all the time. So if things come up, we work through it and we feel better. And then we work through it and then we feel better. And we always come back to a place of feeling nice and good and regulated because I know how to process and hold space unconditionally versus I used to just abandon myself when I would feel something uncomfortable.
And that's so interesting. I mean, it's like accepting who you are. And it's just, I always think about it's always darkest before the dawn, right? There's like when you're going through something intense, it feels like it's never going to end. But actually accepting it, and again, words are easy, but accepting that whatever you're going through, it's part of your journey and you're meant to go through it. It's hard to accept that, right? Because I feel like this podcast and the conversations we have increases awareness, which is great, right? All of a sudden you're aware that you're going through a dark night of soul. Great. Well, hey. But actually becoming aware, next stage is harder. It's acceptance.
Yeah.
You had this dream that you were going to become a ballerina. This was the vision. This was your expectation. You worked so hard for it. All of a sudden that expectation gets blown up, right? And this whole life path that you had, your whole existence kind of goes away. And it's just like everything about you is shared. And this is, for me, that's what a dark night of the soul feels like. Every part of you, every facet of you is being challenged. And it's the time when we feel most unsupported, but actually I feel like it's the time we're most supported from the other side.
Yeah. It definitely can feel like an identity crisis. Like ego death on steroids.
For sure. And this is the thing. I feel like this lifetime, we've picked accelerated paths because we have to go through so much. It's almost like we've been through as much in the last 5 years as in previous times we would have gone in maybe in 2 or 3 lifetimes, because I feel like this planet is going through a shift in it, which is why everything feels so intense.
Yeah, I feel like energy is moving faster too, just in general. So that doesn't help that feeling.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I have a question in my head, actually. I was debating whether to ask you. I'm curious, because, I don't know if I struggled to leave the corporate world. I was kind of delaying it, using it to fund my dreams, and kind of, in a way, I was like, oh, it'd be nice for them to, make some redundancies and give me a nice package. That never happened. But I'm curious, you've still got your foot in 2 camps, and no criticism, right? Everyone's going through their journey. But the cosmetology side and the healing side, do you feel they're aligned?
No.
Do you feel... All right, okay.
No. I mean, they're not aligned because my highest values in life are like beauty, alignment, heaven on earth, right? So like giving someone a beautiful transformative haircut, working with my hands, I love that. Like I'm a transformation junkie, love to help people feel better. So it is aligned like on a surface level, but in my body's like, okay, time to graduate, like moving on to this other thing. So I'm just trying not to judge the journey because it's unfolding slower than I would like, of course, because I would like to move a million miles an hour and like quit doing hair yesterday. But at the same time, it is funding my dreams.
Sure.
It is giving me the ability to write a book like this. So I'm like, okay, we can't hate on it. We're transitioning. And yeah, it is weird, like having one foot here and one foot here and kind of like teetering between the old life and the new life. And yeah, it's definitely been a transition and a big part of my journey recently. Because like for the last couple of years, I've been like, this is the year I'm gonna go full time in healing and quit doing hair. And then it was like this year, it was like, this is the year. So, but I'm also like, well, God's timing. So I'm doing what I can. We'll see how it all works out.
And it is, because it's interesting. I feel like a lot of people are shifting careers, which is why I asked you that question. It's that, there's no right or wrong, right? There's divine timing. Do I look back and consider, could I have left corporate earlier? Yeah. Could I have left it later? Yeah. Did a lot of people think I'm crazy leaving a corporate career which was paying me a really good salary? Probably. But I've never looked back.
Yeah.
So if that helps anybody that's thinking of making a shift, this really is, it feels like the time where we've got to focus on things that are shining a light, and the things that we used to do may not align with us anymore. So take that
Yeah.
leap.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
I've given it a lot of thought too because I'm like, well, and I'm like the self-love queen and I really do live by what I teach. And I'm like, okay, what feels the most nourishing? Should I go all in right now and quit doing hair and just like gun ho, we're doing this? And then when I think that, like my body is like, no, thank you. That sounds like so much pressure and stress. Like, let's not rush the process. And then I was like, okay, well, what if I just cut down on hair and then we like make that less and make this more, right? And
yeah,
then that comes into balance. And I was like, okay, that's what feels good for now. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm always reevaluating like what's the most self-loving thing for me because I feel like for some people, the self-loving thing is like, okay, we're going all in. I want to have that excitement of like being in the unknown
yeah,
and we're going to quit this and embrace this wholeheartedly. But then for other people, that might put so much stress and pressure that they're not able to like be their creative self and like do the new thing fully because they're like so worried about money or whatever it is. So it's like no right or wrong answer. Just feel into it for yourself. Like, what is the most self loving thing to do? To stay, to go, to transition? Like, it's your life. You can do whatever you want.
that's so true. It's this comparison. I feel like is it's the worst thing we can do, right? It's
Ugh, it's
we're our own
deadly.
journey, and it's that and it's really because so with this podcast, I have one guest a week, and I do one episode with the co-host Stacey, and she used to be in hair too, and she's a cosmetologist too, and it's that kind of. I feel like that's anyone that does working with hair, it is healing
Yeah,
because it's like you think about it, it's like especially for women and not. But when you have a breakup, what do you do? What's the first thing you do? You go and cut your hair,
exactly.
and you kind of go because the hair keeps lots of memories, right? The
Hmm.
memory of the story. So when you cut your hair, it is a way of releasing those memories and going through a reset. So I asked you that question with knowing that you're a healer on both sides, just what the healer looks like, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of hairstylists I know are healers, even if they wouldn't call themselves healers. And like, I'll literally be doing energy work on my clients at the bowl. Like, they don't know, but then they're like, oh my God, that was the best massage ever. I feel so much better. And I'm like, yeah, I know. You're welcome. Or like, because hair has so much to do with our identity and
Yeah,
our confidence. So when people want an identity shift, they want to up level, you get a great haircut, you get some new color going on, and
that's
you're just
yeah,
like
that's just
feeling like $1,000,000.
and you're releasing so much energy, right? It's that.
Mhm.
So how do you, when you're cutting people's hair, not take on their energy? Because obviously there's an
Mm.
energy exchange, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing hair for over 13 years, so I think I've just gotten better at having energetic boundaries, and I go into each day like just centered with myself. And I know that whatever they're going through, whatever they're going to spew on me, whatever great life advice I'm going to give them, like that's just for the chair, that's just for that moment, that's for them to have. But by the end of the day, I am pretty tired. I do like a good salt bath. I do like a good saging. Um, and I have a pretty long drive from my house to the salon, which helps to
Yeah, to reset.
separate. Because
Mm.
if the salon was like right next door, I feel like I would carry more of it with me. So the drive is like my wind down time where I just like release everything that happened in the day and come back into myself.
I love it. I mean, I'll tell you for the client work I do, I like to give my guys permission. So I'll put a bubble around me. I'm not a big fan of protection because when you protect your energy too much, you're stopping love coming in as well as. But I like to give my guys permission and say, you know what, put a bubble around me and only allow loving and supporting vibrations in. And it's just, why not give them permission, right? I have to say, with all the kind of recent work and recent energies, I feel is people's energy is so much more at a deeper level. And it's like, especially when there's a lot of people around me, and it's really interesting how this shift is affecting us, right? And I'd love to know more about the spiritual side of your world in terms of, you mentioned connecting to souls that left this realm. You talked about your psychic abilities. How do you connect with your guides? How do you receive messages? What's that like for you?
Yeah, so I just talk to them in my head, as
I
many
love it.
people do. And usually I like to be in a quiet space. So I'm either like on the back porch of my house or I'm in the sauna alone. I love connecting with my guides in the sauna. Or maybe I'm working out, or usually I'm like just connected to my body, really present. And then, or I might even be driving, like doing something like really easy and mindless, or in the shower or something like that. And then I'll just ask them, like, hey, can you send me a sign about this? Can you help me with this? If I'm going to be doing a healing session with a client, I'll be like, okay, like, what does this person need the most support with today? Do you have any messages for them? I'll connect to their spirit team beforehand. So just leaving the lines of communication open. I used to be really big on oracle cards, which I still do have fun with, and my dog helps me pull them. He's like also a
Oh,
psychic little
really?
puppy.
That's
Yeah,
great.
I call them puppy pulls, and he helps me like pull the cards, and he always picks the best cards. It's so funny.
I love it.
So that's like a fun little family thing that we do, me and the dog.
Hmm.
But I also really like to journal. So sometimes I will just meditate for a few minutes, ask whatever question I need answers to, and then just journal and see what comes through. When I first started practicing mediumship, which I don't use that often anymore, but when I first started practicing it, it was through journaling. And I would be like, hey, grandpa, like, are you there? Like, calling you, come on in, come on down. The price is right. I want to talk to you. And, and so once I would feel like his presence, and I would be like, okay. And I would go into my journal and just write as him. I would
Oh,
just
beautiful.
channel as him.
Mm.
And I remember one of the first times I did that, I had to call all his kids, like all my aunts and uncles, and be like, well, here's a message for everyone. And I thought they were going to think I was crazy because I had never done this like in front of them
Yeah.
before. And they're very Catholic. They all went to Catholic school and stuff. So I didn't know what they were going to think. And when I gave my aunt her message, she started crying. And I was like, oh no, either I said something really bad or like, this is the real deal.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's just exactly something that he would say. And I
Oh,
just feel that so deeply and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, that's one of the ways I'm big into writing. Obviously, I'm a writer. I write books, but in my personal practice too, journaling is like, I love that. That just nourishes the soul. Such a good way for channeling. But I get a lot of information via clairvoyance and claircognizance. So I have like knowings, and I have a lot of visions, whether it's like a picturesque vision or like a movie vision. Or recently, I feel like my dreams have been
yeah.
guiding me and a little bit prophetic sometimes, which is interesting. That's kind of a newer development. But yeah, that's some of the ways that I work with my energies. But also, like with client sessions and stuff, and when I host self-love retreats and when I work with people, I'm able to like see energy stuff going on. And I have like my own like Reiki process, so to speak, where I use my hands to like move energy around for people, which just kind of intuitively happened
Love
over
it.
the course of hosting retreats. And my guides were like, do this. And I was like, I'm going to look crazy, but okay. And so I started doing it. And my clients, they loved it. And they're like, oh my gosh, I felt it. I felt tingling here. I felt this there. It was doing this. I'm feeling lighter, whatever. So I was like, okay. So I've just been like this whole time, just trusting what wants to come through my body, what wants to come through my mind, what my hands want to do to create energy. And yeah.
And that's, I got to give you a dues. That's easy. That's harder to do than it sounds.
Well, you have to be okay with like looking and sounding crazy, which I am
Yeah.
to a
But
degree.
it's also you letting go of the programming, right? It's like so many people like, okay, I'm going to channel this way. This is the way I'm used to doing it. Da, da, da. And it's like, well, no, actually, it's the whole thing is the only constant we have in life is change, right? And you just because we talked about the rebirth, right? Everything that you've been through has brought you to this moment, and so I'll give you a dues to say, well done for embracing the new versions of you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely not easy when, like, for example, maybe a Reiki practitioner who studied a lot of Reiki would look at me and be like, oh, she's not doing Reiki. She's not Reiki certified. And it's like, where other people have told me, like, yeah, you don't need to study that because you're already like doing your own thing. And I'm just going with it. I'm like, okay, like, I want to do it the way that my body wants to do it because it's probably going to be
100%.
the most effective that way. Or like working with the Akashic Records. Like, I've been working with the Akashic Records, and then I
Yeah,
was
for
like,
sure.
I should take a course on working with the Akashic Records. So I got into this group program, and I was like, I've already been doing all of this. I just don't have this like whole process around it, but I have my own process around it. And so
Right.
I didn't continue with that because I was like, well, I'm already doing it. Like, I don't feel like putting myself more in a box is going to help, so to speak, with that. So I'm just like embracing all my abilities the way they want to be embraced and trying not to judge myself of like, oh, you're not certified, so you're not as clear or whatever, you know?
And that's great advice for anyone that's because I, I don't I don't believe I train anyone on the Akashic records. I believe what I do is I guide the human to what the soul already knows.
Hmm.
So I don't, there's no rigid. You have to open the Akashic records in this way. You have to use this prayer, or you have to do it sitting down in your portal, or I'd encourage people to do it before they go to sleep. Go and dream differently. Go and whatever you're going to do. It's for me, the records are a doorway into other realms and a deeper connection to my guides.
Mm.
We love giving, even Reiki, we love giving labels to things. Oh my God, you've got to do it this way. And, you've got to, I'm protected over the records because they've changed my life.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not protective over the process of connecting with the records. I'm
Right.
more in there. And the records don't need protecting. They don't need my protection by any means, but they're sacred to me. So, it's just, I don't know, it's just a different, but, don't worry about the labels. It's great advice. Just, we all have natural healing portals in our hands, right? Which for sure have ability to heal people if you're open. We all have natural auras. We are all naturally the gift ourselves, and we are naturally all healers if we're open to it. It's all a label, and I love the fact that you're not embracing the label.
Oh, yeah. I don't embrace labels. So my part of my story that I didn't mention, so I didn't go to college. Even though everyone pressured me, all my counselors looked down on me, they made me apply for all these scholarships and apply to all these schools, and I always did well in school and was really smart and got into all these great colleges, but it just didn't feel right because I was like, what am I going to do? Study something, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars like to study something that is just fun to study, but I probably won't use it as like a career because I want to be a dancer. So what the heck? And yeah, everything changed when my parents were like, well, you've always been a good beautician. Like, I was already charging my friends to do their hair and makeup for prom. I was
Yeah.
already cutting my friends' bangs. It was just already happening in my life. And so they were like, you should try beauty school. And I was like, okay. And luckily, if I, like, thank God I had parents that were like that because I knew a lot of women in that school who did not have supportive parents. And they were like, get a real job, get a real degree. This is dumb. But like, jokes on them because we all make a lot more money than most of those people working half the time. So it's great. But it's like, it it's definitely hard in our society to live out of the box, and you have to have a lot of courage to just do it your own way because now, like, I've written multiple best-selling books and I didn't go to college. So, like, I just
I
sometimes
love that.
laugh at my counselors. I'm like, "Hee hee, I did it." Like, "Sorry, I didn't go to college," you know?
I love that. I love that. And it's just, as you describe your life, you clearly didn't follow the natural, program life. You didn't go to college. You wanted to be a dancer, but that kind of changed. But I don't know if you realize that how supported you were in your path because you didn't follow the traditional.
Right,
If you follow the traditional, maybe because we have so much programming in our world, right? If you went to college, then maybe you'd have all of this knowledge, which actually, in many ways, maybe would stop you from feeling connected as you do. Because
right.
it's just I'm just curious if you can feel, even though you didn't follow the traditional path, how guided you were.
Yeah, definitely, and now that you pointed out, it's like I feel definitely less guided, and I don't this is not to say anything bad about people who do go to college because it's
Of
great
course,
for the
everybody
right
has their own individual
obviously, but
journey.
in my experience, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't go through the, like, almost indoctrination of it and the programming of it of, like, this is how history was, and this is how you should think about feminism and all this information that, like, I get to look at life and think about it how I want to think about it, and yes, I feel very supported in the fact of how it all worked out, and I don't think it was just meant for me to spend time and money doing that because look at what I'm doing now. I probably would not be doing any of this if I had gone to college. I probably would have been a teacher. I probably would have ended up like a professor or something.
Yeah, and who knows, right? Everybody's path is unique, but it's that, the reason I talk about this is because I feel like for so many of us, all the knowledge that we've learned in the human existence is actually what we're being asked to leave at the door because we're channeling new information. And how are we going to break the mold and kind of create this new reality if we live out of our history? And again, nothing against anyone that's studying, or it's just, but I feel like a lot of us are being asked to leave all of that knowledge at the door. And it's just an interesting time, right? It's an interesting time that we're going through in a shift. And just, I wanted to go back and ask you if you were guiding and somebody kind of came to you and said, I want to build a deeper connection with my guides. I want to receive more messages. What would your message to them be? What would your advice be?
Well, my first piece of advice would be to ask and call them in, because they're not just going to be helping you and giving you all this information if you don't ask. They're waiting for you. They're on the other side, like, please ask me. I'm bored. Like, I'm your spirit guide. Like, I'm assigned to you. Like, help me help you, right? Open the door, open the channel. It's so funny because when I first started doing mediumship work, and I told my grandmother, and she's like a funny lady, and now she's on the other side, but she would be like, so Kelsey, how does it work? Do you just like dial 1-800-HEAVEN and then you're just connected to the line and then you just talk to them? And I was like, honestly, kind of is like that. So my advice would be like, dial 1-800-HEAVEN, connect to your guides,
I love
and
it.
let them in and ask them for specific help. If you can ask them for something specific, I think that helps. And then if you're like not sure if you're getting the right information, assign certain signs. So be like, okay, send me a peacock, or send me 8888, or send me a feather, or send me this special plant that I love, or send me a very specific sign so that I know when it comes, it's from you and I know what it means. So like, don't just send me a sign with no meaning. Like, if I see this sign, then I'm going to make it mean this. So only send that to me if that's what you mean, right? And then you have a clear line of communication.
I love it. I love it. And it's actually we complicate life, right? But it's such our guides will only help us if we ask them. And asking and, letting go. Because sometimes we do these tests, right? I'm going to test them and I'm sure it's not going to be, and nothing's going to come through. And it's just like, whatever you focus on expands, will come true. So if you asking your guides for a sign, but you actually decided it's not going to come through, then your guys were like, yeah, okay, we got you. That's what you want. You don't want to see the signs? Cool, we have you back. And it's just, but also let go of how that sign's going to come through. Because if we ask for a peacock, we may see it on TV. We may see it somewhere else. It's like the magic
Okay,
comes.
I have to tell this story. This is
Go for
from
it.
the other day. So I said peacock because I wrote a book called Letters to the Universe, and it's a manifesting journal, but specifically for scripting because I love scripting. And so the other day I was in my book, I was writing a letter to the universe, and my process is like a couple of self-inquiry questions before you write the letter, so you can get really clean and really clear. And one of the questions is, what sign am I going to see that when I see it, I'm going to know that what I'm asking for in my letter is in fact coming true? Okay. So I said, I want to see a peacock, which where I live, there's no peacocks. Where I used to live in California, I would see them like all the time, real ones. They were at my school. We were next to a ranch. Like I would see peacocks. But here where I am, like, I'm not going to usually see a peacock. So I'm like, well, I might see it on TV. I might see a sticker, we'll see how it comes. I might see a meme or something. And so I said, send me a peacock. That's my sign. Literally before the day was even over, my husband got invited by one of his clients to come see the dance show Shenyun, the Chinese ballet show. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love Shenyun. We have to go. Like, we have to accept her gracious invitation. Some other friends that she had invited like pulled out last minute. So she thought of Jeff and she invited us. And so we decided that day, okay, we're going to go. We're going to go to Shenyun. And of course, a whole entire piece was dedicated to golden peacocks. The women were all dressed in these beautiful peacock outfits. And then there was this big like green screen in the back behind the dancers doing like these beautiful animations the whole time. And at the end of the piece was like this giant golden peacock, like the most obvious
I love it.
peacock
I
a
love it.
spirit team could ever send. Like, you cannot miss this. And before even the end of the day. So I was like, okay, spirit team, you got me. I'm not going to question anymore.
I'm sure they're all high-fiving each other and they're like, and that's the other thing to bear in mind is our guides, like to have fun too, right? They have jokes with us. They love to expand us in their own unique ways. So, it's just
It couldn't have been any more obvious. It was hilarious. Because I feel like what we do a lot of times, and my co-host Lindsay of High Vibin It, we talk about this a lot. Like, we are such control freaks and we're so anxious. We'll ask for a sign, but then we'll get it and we'll be like, I don't know if that was a sign. Let me ask for another sign. And you write it off, right? And then you're just always asking for signs, but you're never receiving them. Like, you're not letting them land. So you
yeah. I
have
mean,
to, like,
that one you couldn't miss, right? That
right.
one.
It was like my guides know that I'll just be like, well, was that really my sign? I don't know. It could be a coincidence. They're like, no, this is your sign. Take it now.
Yeah, I love it. I'm sure, like I said, they were celebrating.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd love for you to talk about what the work that you do, how you work with clients. What does that look like for you? And also your
Yeah.
podcast. Anything you want to share about your journey and kind of the work that you do for the planet?
Yeah, so it's evolving a lot. I actually don't have that much clarity into what the next stage looks like, except I
Right.
feel like it's going to be a lot of one to many. Because in the past years, I've done a lot of one on one work. I've done small, intimate retreats. So maybe it's one of me, maybe 8 women. So I'm still like working with people one on one. And while I love that and it's very powerful, I feel like I'm being called to go broader
I love
and help as many people as possible. So obviously the books, channeling messages through the books that will hopefully land for the readers. And I just recently started a Substack and I'm on YouTube educating over there. So I'm just trying to put out as much helpful information and content as possible for people to take and integrate. And if they want my help integrating it, that's great too. When I do sessions, when I do one-on-one work with people, it's really fun, it's really intimate. We meet over usually like a Zoom meeting, and then before the call I'll usually dip into their energy a little bit with their permission just to see like what's going on. And then it's not a very scripted process. It's really just, okay, how can I support you today? Either if you're going through something that's a little touchy or painful, we can work through that. Or if you're in a more creative, expansive space, like let's work with that, And then so that will decide how the hour is going to go. And then we'll usually chat a little bit. I like to work a lot with people's thoughts and in their mind and be like, well, have you thought about it this way? Let's call it this instead of that. Like, let's kind of do a little tinkering and reprogramming there. And then once we do the mind stuff, then I'll go into their energetic body. I'll have them relax. I'll have them get grounded. If they need to process anything, I'll help them through that. And then after, once everything's cleared, charge them up with some good energy, amplify whatever needs to be amplified, and then go in with my special energy healing, do all my fun little hand
I love it.
movements, get
I
the
love it.
energy going. And then usually we'll close off the session with like some sort of card reading, or if I channeled any specific messages for them before the call, then we go into those. And then I just bless them and leave them on their merry way to go manifest their best life, and usually meet up with them again in a couple weeks or so.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. I'll include, your website and your details in the show notes so people can reach out. What about your podcast?
Oh, yeah. The podcast is called High Vibin It. It is full of fun, giggles, downloads, high vibrations. Obviously, we called it High Vibin It for a reason. And it's really just designed to help you live your best life, love yourself deeply and unconditionally, optimize different areas of life. So sometimes it's just me and Lindsay jamming out on a topic. She's a hypnotherapist. I'm the manifesting self-love lady. So between us two, we have some really juicy, expansive conversations going on. But a lot of the times we will have guests on, and we're about to have you on. So we're really
Yeah,
excited.
I'm
So
looking forward
everyone
to it.
go subscribe to High Vibin It so you can hear his story over there and have him on the other side of the
I
hot
love
seat.
it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so that's a really fun place and another free resource for people. But I also have a couple courses. I have a radical self-love course that helps people to integrate more self-love. I have a money manifesting course called Money Magnetics, a tiny one and a bigger one, whatever people want to dive into to help them align with more abundance, more financial freedom. So yeah, I'm just doing all the things. There's a lot of different resources that I have to help people, whether it's something small, something big, something free, something paid, something one-on-one. So yeah, I would just say use me as a resource because that's what I'm here for.
I love it. I love it. You have such a beautiful light. Actually, I interviewed Lindsay too, so I'm going to have both of you releasing very soon, and then I'll be on yours. It just feels like it's divinely timed. So I love it. I love it. I love when the universe kind of gives that synchronicity over everything. And so as we're coming close to closing out this episode, I'd love for you to share any final thoughts, anything that's in your heart, any maybe journal prompts. You talk about journaling and writing quite a lot. Just a reminder to people that we have so much information, and so we push everything down, everything, all the pain. And journaling is a beautiful spiritual exercise to release whatever we're holding on to through our arms as we write. I mean, I remember my mentor is no longer with us, but I was used to argue with them. Like, I want to type, I don't want to write. She's like, no, you have to write. So, but yeah, anything that's in your heart, anything that you want to share, or any journal prompts.
Okay, well, journal prompts. Okay, this is a really powerful one. This is a good one. So I love journal prompts. I actually started this Etsy shop in my crazy like manifesting generator scattered brain of like being super multi-passionate. And I started this little like PDF journal shop where I made all these different journals for like anxiety and depression, money manifesting, love manifesting. So I have journal prompts out the hoo-ha. If you need journal prompts, just let me know. I have like 100 for every single thing you can manifest. And one of my favorite ones that's like really powerful and shifting for people is, well, it's like 2 parts. Actually, it's 3 parts. I'm going to give you 3 parts. So the first one is when you go to manifest something, let's say you have a new desire, or maybe it's not new, just a strong desire, rise up. So decide what that experience is, right? So I want to manifest the boyfriend, I want to manifest the house, the job, the aligned career, the inner peace, whatever it is, whatever you're trying to manifest. Then I need you to ask yourself, or I would invite you to ask yourself, what do I think I'm going to get once I get this goal? Like, what's the goal of the goal? Is it to feel a certain way? Is it to experience a certain sensation? Like, what am I really after here? And so I call that the surface desire, which is like the thing that you want. And then the genuine desire is like why you want that thing.
Wow,
And
yeah.
the surface desire is not bad. We're not judging that. You're allowed to want money. You're allowed to want cars. You're allowed to want houses, whatever. Like, we're here to play in the material in this body. So that's fine. That's cool. But just make sure you know why you want it, okay? Because that's your genuine desire. That's what you're really after. Then I want you to ask yourself, once you have question number 1, question number 2, you got your desire, you're genuine. Then you need to ask yourself, is there any part of me, any part that is not on board with what I think I want? And then you just shut up and you listen. And you see what pieces of resistance come up. You see what parts of yourself are not wanting that thing to happen. And then you're going to have all your resistance, a lot of it, on paper for you to not judge, but for you to be like, oh, that's why I always self-sabotage my relationships. That's why I'm not letting in
I
more
love
money.
it.
That's why I'm not allowing myself to go for the thing, right? So once you can see your resistance, it's so much easier to either just like delete it one by one and be like, this is a dumb belief. I don't even believe that anymore. Throw it in the garbage. Or if you need to work through it, you can work with it and it's on paper. And if you need help, you can have someone help you. But I think that's one of the most beneficial things you can do is really know what you want, see what your resistance is, untangle that, and then you're off to the races from there.
I love it. That's a manifestation masterclass just in what you just shared. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
So often we're like, oh, I want to manifest this. But actually understanding if you really want it and why you want it is such a big part. And what's your resistance? I love it. That's like in a few minutes, you've just given a manifestation masterclass. And yeah. So thank you for being a guest on this podcast. I'm sure we could talk for hours, and you have a beautiful energy, you have a beautiful light. I'm glad you're shining it. And I'm excited to see what comes for you in the future, but also what's here for you in the moment. So thank you for being a guest on this podcast. I'm looking forward to being a guest on yours. I'm sure we'll have a great conversation. Sending so much love and light out to everybody. If you're going through something, know that it's going to pass, but also know that it's serving you. And Kelsey, I'd love for you to close us out with whatever words are in your heart.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just tap in real quick and see what wants to come through. Okay, this has been coming through a lot lately, actually. So I think it's like a theme, and I hope it resonates with the people listening to this podcast. But the message is to not judge your desires because they're placed in your heart for a reason. If it's a genuine desire, it's going to be beneficial for you and all parties involved. So just know that it is not only kind of your duty and obligation to align with it and make it manifest, because it's kind of your destiny. And if you're like resisting your desire, you're resisting your destiny. But also, don't deprive yourself of the success of that thing, whatever it is, because not only are you hurting yourself when you do that, but everyone else that was going to receive something from that manifestation being made manifest is also going to be deprived. So, for example, if I didn't let myself write this book and I was like, oh, it's too much of a journey, it's too hard, I don't want to get an agent, I don't want 12 publishers to tell me no, I don't want to be rejected, I don't want to have an editor, blah, 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 then like all the millions of people who might read this book would not read this book, right? So it's like, you have to do yourself and the world the service of going for your dreams because they exist for a reason.
Wow, so powerful. You know, when you channel that, I just got the message to remind people to have fun.
Yes.
We take this life so seriously, and it's just, you're a soul having a human experience, and that experience doesn't need to always involve pain. You know, crying and laughter and joy is such a big part of the spiritual journey. So why are you doing everything we talked about? Why are you manifesting your dreams and you're truly have fun with it? Why do we take life so seriously? Have fun with
Yeah,
it.
use your powers for good and have fun and enjoy that dream house and that luxury car and that amazing career and that amazing marriage and whatever you're trying to create. Like, I'm here for it. I support it.
I love it. And that's so true because, you know, as healers, the whole paradigm would be you're not allowed to have all these things. Yes, you are. I love it. I love it. Kelsey, I'm sending you so much love, sending so much love out to everybody. I love this episode and I'm looking forward to our conversation too. Love and light to everybody. Bye for now.